Dude, welcome to Austin, Texas.
Dude, thank you, brother. It's good to be here.
Did you scope out apartments yet?
Not yet, bro, but honestly, I've been here for what? I got here early Saturday. I don't even know what day it is. Monday now?
It's Monday. I saw you Saturday morning and you were like, I got like an hour and a half of sleep. I just got off the plane. We're about to run a 5K. You're about to do an event. So I give you mad props. You crushed that event coming off of a flight halfway across the country and no sleep.
Oh, dude, I appreciate it. I was like so tired. I remember CJ looked at me and he was like, "Did you get any sleep last night?" And I was like, "Why do you say that?" He's like, "I've never seen bags underneath someone's eyes that big before in my life." And I was like, "Thanks so much, CJ. I appreciate it. I appreciate it." But yeah, dude, I mean, it's been ever since I got here Saturday morning, it has been nonstop. I mean, like, I've been with Eric Hinman, and of course, when you're with Eric Hinman, it's
You
never
don't stop.
you don't stop. But yeah, dude, I mean, this city is unreal. I absolutely love it. The people here are amazing. The food's amazing. The weather's been so great. So yeah, no, I love it here.
What has been the highlight of your trip so far?
Well, probably that event. That event was really, really cool because that's like the first kickoff of Hive in Austin. And, I think we did it, Matt helped out a ton organizing it and everything. And, we're trying to like curtail these events to be, about, community and building community and like what is your Hive. And, we don't really want to push so much product on people, and I think the way that we did it was great and everyone loved it, doing a 5K into I don't even know what that workout was that we did.
Like an 8-minute plank bear crawl, whatever.
For the listeners that are listening in on this, Eric Hinman made us do a plank side by side next to everyone that did the Hive hustle. And then someone would have to army crawl underneath. And then once that person on your right did it, you would fall underneath. So it was like literally an 8 to 10 minute plank nonstop.
I was there and I was next to Eric and he's just laughing the whole time. And I'm just like, dude, I hate you. I was like,
know.
it sucks.
It sucked, but type 2 fun is the best type of fun in my eyes.
That's right. No,
Yeah.
100%. And I want to touch on something you said there and not pushing a ton of product on people. And I've never felt that you were doing that. Really, like you rarely even mentioned the product at all during the event. You were just so grateful for everybody coming out there, for the people hosting the event, for just creating the vibe and not being like, hey, go have a bunch of our cocktails. You were honestly like, hey, I know it's like 10 o'clock in the morning. So like, don't feel like you even have no pressure on it at all. But it feels like you're pushing more of a lifestyle than you are an actual product, which I think in my opinion, is going to win in 2023, 2024, and beyond. So how have you been able to do that and really, push this lifestyle versus just like, hey, we're another canned beverage company, like buy our product?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting approach because it's not one that many people take because obviously at the end of the day, sales is what drives, CPG brands, especially beverage brands. And I just took the approach of, hey, look, like at the end of the day, what makes Spirited Hive so special is the community aspect behind the brand. Like, who's your hive? Who are the people that you love to spend time with? And that's what I'm trying to get out of this brand is, getting that across to people that, this brand is so much about community. And the best way to bring people together is through events and activations. And, especially here in Austin, there's a lot of people that don't drink. And I don't want to put on an event that people that don't drink won't come to, so I want to do an event that gets people, seeing the brand because there's so much more to come with Hive because we're getting into the non-alc space.
Which I'm stoked about.
Yeah. So that's the whole idea is like bringing people together, creating this lifestyle brand of like, who is your hive? Who are the people I love to spend time with? And then also, since we're leaning into really being that better for you canned cocktail, that's why we've been putting so many events on in this health and wellness space. And to kind of answer your question around like pushing product, I've been to a lot of those events through other beverage alcohol brands or even like other wellness brands where it's like so in your face that it's like, I don't like, it feels so almost like corporate, when you're at one of those events, it's like advertising everywhere and it doesn't feel as special. And when it doesn't feel as special, you're less likely to really put all your guards down and like open up and meet people. And it was so cool. You know, after the run, everyone was talking and everyone was having a good time. People were playing pickleball and people stayed. And that's the thing that I love is like people stay around to like talk to each other and get to know one another. Because at these other events, people leave right when it's done. It's like, okay, what's next? So really capturing, you know, the consumer's attention. And, you know, next time, next time they see Hive at a retail store, they won't really think too much about the product, but they'll think about the event that they were at. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that feeling that you create.
Exactly.
You think about brands like Nike or Apple or Tesla, they're never advertising saying, hey, come buy our product.
Yeah.
They're just the top of the top and they make the best products and they create content and marketing that is a lifestyle, that promotes a lifestyle rather than, hey, you know, you're wearing Nikes right now. Like, you know, come buy the newest, you know, Vaporflies or whatever it is. So I think that you're on the right trajectory with that. So where does it even begin though for you? Because I mean, you're what, 26?
27, yeah.
27, right? You're a couple years older than me. And I know that you've mentioned to me, like, you don't even have a background in like, you know, alcohol or the beverage space or anything like that. So, you know, why did you decide to, where did this all come from and why did you decide to do it?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a really funny, organic, kind of happy kind of founder story because I was in college. I was at USC in 2020. My whole background was real estate finance, real estate development, and I was about to accept a job in kind of capital markets in Los Angeles. And it was about 5 or 6 days into the pandemic, and I get on with the guy that, you know, was supposed to be hiring me. It was kind of like an onboarding call almost, and he was like, hey, look, man, like, we just had to let go of 2 people on the team that you're about to join. Like, we can't hire you. And I was definitely bummed. I was like, oh crap, what am I gonna do? But at this point in time, no one knew what this whole COVID thing was and like what it was gonna turn into. And I always tell people kind of jokingly, like, you know, like everyone else at this point in time during the pandemic, I was at home mixing up one too many quarantine cocktails. And literally one night I was behind the bar with all my buddies, the height of the pandemic, making my 2 favorite drinks, which are Moscow mules and Mexican mules. Absolutely love these drinks. And I was making them for my friends, not because I'm a mixologist, just because I'm literally like the least lazy out of my friends to get up to make these drinks. So I was making these drinks and all of them were trying them and they're like, damn, Jack, like, this literally might be the best drink I've ever had. Like, you have got to can this thing. Because that was kind of right at the beginning of the whole King cocktail boom. And I was like, you know what, guys? Like, I, you know, should take a stab at this. Like, you know, why not? Like, I've got nothing else better going on. So we're all sitting around the bar thinking about different names for this brand that I was going to create. And for the most part, all of the names that we were coming up with were terrible. And I had like an aha moment.
What were some of the bad ones? I got to pause you there.
Well, so my aha moment was, what about the name Mint B? And they're like, dude, that might be the worst name yet. They're like, why Mint B? That's the stupidest name I've ever heard. And I was like, well, you know, because there's mint in a Moscow Mule and B because it's sweetened with honey. And they're like, dude, what are you talking about? There's no honey in a Moscow Mule. And I was like, yeah, there is. And they're like, what recipe are you following that says that there's honey in a Moscow Mule? And I was like, no, I just make it up. You know, there's honey in Moscow Mule. And they're like, no, there's not. So little did I know, like I said, I'm not a mixologist, but little did I know there's no honey in it. But a light bulb went off my head and I was like, well, what if I took a different approach at the canned cocktail industry and made a better for you canned cocktail sweetened with honey, only using natural ingredients and organic ingredients and then higher quality spirits? Because my kind of 2 pillars in my life is health and fitness and family and friends. Like, those 2 things, without those, like, I don't know what I would do. So this whole brand was kind of built on that. You know, it was built with friends for friends, and it was also built to be a better for you option in the canned cocktail space. So that was kind of the foundation of which this company kind of was started. And it was all like very organic and kind of like all fell into place because at this time I still didn't know like how long COVID was going to be going on.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, this will be fun to take a stab at, to see like, yeah, it'll be cool to have a company, but I'll probably get back into real estate in the next 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are almost 4 years later, which is crazy to think.
Wow.
So it all kind of happened very organically. So, I got into the kitchen, started mixing up different drinks, and we started with our take on a Mexican mule. So our ginger and lime infused tequila, and then was bringing that to parties, having my buddies try it, like still during COVID. And they were like, yeah, this is really, really good. But my bourbon loving buddies were like, well, does this whole thing work with bourbon? And I was like, well, bourbon and honey go hand in hand. So let's try it out. So I made a rosemary and lemon infused bourbon. And then a couple of weeks go by, still bringing both of those to parties. And then all the girls in the crew were like, we're not the biggest tequila drinkers, we're not the biggest bourbon drinkers, but we do love vodka. Does this whole Hive thing work with vodka? And in my eyes, I was like, vodka and honey. Like, I've never even heard of a drink that uses those two ingredients. But I was like, I'll take a stab at it. So we made our Cosmo. And funny enough, that is our number one seller. That makes up over 40% of our sales right now.
Wow.
Which is crazy. So, yeah. And then we ended up launching with those three into market in May of 2022. So we've been around for about a year and a half. We launched in Nashville as a Nashville-built company. And since then, we have become the exclusive ready drink of the Nashville Soccer Club, the Tennessee Titans, the Predators, the Sound. So we really own Nashville as like a canned cocktail company. And then the past, 8 or 9 months now, we've just been expanding into new markets. So all of Tennessee, Michigan, Florida, New York, and then Texas starts next month.
Whew.
A lot right there.
That's
Yeah.
a lot right there, man. But I mean, I just initially think back to going on 4 years now that you've been at this. You were what, 23 years old when you were doing this?
Yeah, when I first started it, I was 23. Yeah.
23. So you were a little younger than I am.
Yeah.
And what did that look like for you? Like the whole process of, I mean, you look at the brand now, you guys have a great logo. You've got incredible branding, website's legit. The cans are like amazing. Like no joke, like just insane what you've done with just like the colors and the branding and the vibe of everything. And just, it looks like it's a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
And so anybody can just sit there and say like, oh yeah, like this is like, they don't really understand what goes into that. So like when you had the idea to start mixing up these things and start making these canned cocktails, I know you were making them for your friends, bringing them to parties and letting that be like the, okay, yes or no in terms of what you were going to do with it. But like, you got to talk to, people who are going to mix it and can it, and people who are going to come up with the branding, and like just being in the startup space myself, I know all of the little details that go into these things. So what has the process been for you? And when you had that, like, okay, I'm going to take a stab at this thing, what was your next step? Where did you go from there?
Yeah. And it's really interesting because I always tell people, I was extremely naive to not only what it was like to be a founder, a boss, but also extremely naive to just the beverage alcohol industry as a whole. I was, making these drinks for friends, and everyone's like, yes, like you should actually do this on like a big level, like make it into a company. I was like, yeah, how hard could it be? I already got like the hard part down, which is the formulation. And that was not even the beginning, like that was like me making it at home with like very high end bourbon and nice tequila and like the best honey you could get. And
were you going broke just testing all this stuff?
Luckily I was living at home. So
there you go.
I was just stealing all the alcohol. From my
there you
go. But yeah, I literally was like, yeah, like how do I get this started? So, I initially got a lawyer to start, and I actually a lawyer and an accountant, and I ran it by them. I was like, so how do I go about doing this? And he was a beverage lawyer, And he was like, okay, this is what we need to do for like setting up the company and everything there. And then accounting. Thank God I did that off the bat. I couldn't
Yeah,
imagine
what, dude?
starting.
Like, that is so
Yeah,
insane that
I
you
know.
even did that.
Because I was thinking about it. I was actually just on the phone with my accountant. And for brands that start, honestly, like if you're about to start a brand, make sure you have an accountant that handles everything.
Hmm.
Because that is the biggest thing that can get so disorganized and then you're screwed. But that's like kind of in the background, you know, but
Right.
we'll talk more on like the branding formulation side. I had a friend that went to USC, was like a friend of a friend who was about a year ahead of me that was making an espresso martini company called Deloche. It's an amazing brand. You guys should check it out. But he was extremely helpful because since he was a year ahead, I was like, hey, I have this idea. And he's like, that's a good idea. Next thing you need to do is you need to get a formulator. And then he'll kind of help you through the formulation process. And then you need to do this, this, and this. And he just kind of gave me the information and I just kind of rolled with it. And then I just kind of started researching everything, found a formulator. And what a formulator is like, let's say that product that I had that, you know, I was making for my friends, I sent him like the infused syrups. And I was like, hey, this is what my idea is. And he's like, okay. And he was like, we'll send you samples of this product to see how you like it. Like we'll start at like formulation round 1. I got that first round of formulation and I was like, this is the most disgusting thing I have ever tried my whole entire life. I literally was about to call off the whole thing. I was like, nope, this isn't going to work. And then it just took probably like, I was told it was going to take 2 months for formulation. It took us like 8 or 9 months to get it done. And in the background, I was working with this guy named Scott Higgins, who I got put in touch with, who's amazing at branding. I mean, you've seen the logo, the cans, and everything. He's amazing. And that was another process that, you know, when I was like researching everything, it was like, yeah, branding usually takes around like a month to 2 months. That took us 8 to 9 months. Because I was like, I want this to be sick. Like, I want to release something that I am 100% confident in with the formulation and the branding. And then in the background there, you know, building the website, kind of building the Instagram and the socials and all that. And then when we released, the brand was initially called Hive Cocktail. So we produced about a couple thousand, probably 30, 40,000 cans. And then I had to rebrand the whole brand after that.
Would you run into like trademark issues?
Yeah. So like USPTO, my lawyer, I had 3 different lawyers, one beverage alcohol, one like an attorney behind like hiring people and everything, and then one that was like USPTO stuff. And he was like in the beginning, this was another thing that I was naive about, was he was like, hey, Hive Cocktail is relatively high risk to get to actually have it be trademarked and then registered. And at the time, I was like, we'll figure it out later. Kind of like, you know, we'll just figure it out. It'll all work out. And then we produce, and I was doing this deal at the time because we launched the product the same day that the Nashville Soccer Club opened their new stadium, which was a really cool thing. So no one had ever seen this product before. And then we were the exclusive ready-to-drink partner of NSC, so we launched the same day. But the problem with all this Hive Cocktail stuff was that all the branding for the stadium was being built, like custom signs, custom everything for our brand of bars. And we had just done this production run. And I was like, got some info back from my lawyer saying like, hey, like we see another brand that's in the market. There's a chance that they could sue you. And I was like, fuck. So that day I was like, you know what? Let's figure this out. So we like rebranded the whole company in a matter of weeks, got the signs redone. And because it was in like a time crunch because NSC was launching May 1st. And this was like March, middle of March. And we got it all figured out and we launched the same day with NSC and it was like the kickoff to launching Spirited Hive.
Damn.
Yeah. It was crazy. And that at that point in time, it was still just me running the company. It was just me, no one else.
Dude, yeah, so being a one-man operator for this, never being an entrepreneur, like just fresh out of school, how did you prioritize your days? How did you know what to focus on? How did you continue to make progress on building the company, the formulations, developing a strong network, connecting with people from like the Titans and the Nashville Soccer Club? Like, how are you able to simultaneously do all these things behind the scenes?
It's weird to think. I think everything lined up perfectly, and I think I surrounded myself around really, really great people that helped me because at the end of the day, it wasn't just me that built this brand. It was, yeah, I was running it solo, but I had so much help along the way and a lot of connections through, like distributor connections to, advertising connections. We did like a whole out of home advertisement campaign for the brand on billboards in Nashville, which got the word out there for all of Tennessee or all of Nashville, which was huge. Like people were talking about Hive for like weeks after that because we were on every billboard, and that was amazing. But like managing my day back then was so crazy. Like it was a grind because like it was almost like, yeah, you were starting from scratch, like nothing. And I was like, I don't even know what to do. Like, I don't even know where to begin. So I was always on like formulation calls, branding calls, and it kind of slowly started building on itself. Like, you start small, where it's like you control the controllables in the sense that, like, okay, I know what I know here. I don't know what I don't know here. Let's do some research, or let's see if I can talk to someone that knows about, distribution. And then it kind of just slowly built on itself. And then I was like, okay, now I know a little bit more about distribution. Now, how do I get the product into an actual state? And then it just kept on building and building and building. And now we have a team of 10, 10 people. Yeah. And we're in how many states? 5 states. And we're opening up another 5 in the next probably 6 months. Yeah.
Was there anybody who was your rock through all this? Like, can you pinpoint anybody who's like, I would not be here today on the trajectory that you are without this person?
A bunch of people. But if I had to choose one, probably my stepdad. My stepdad, he started a company back in 2005, sold it about 4 or 5 years ago. So he understands what it's like to be a founder. Um, and when times would get tough, I would be like talking to him and I'd be like, fuck, I don't know what to do. Like, whatever the situation is. And he's like, you'll find a way. I know you will. Um, and you just got to keep going. And that was the thing. Like, there were so many points in time because canned cocktail space, like you've been seeing it. There's a new canned cocktail that comes out every single day, and probably 99.9% of them had deeper pockets than I did. So they are already on a leg up. So there was so much, competition, and there was so much just negativity around like, how do I grow this brand and be successful? And he was always like, dude, you'll figure it out. Just keep going, keep your head down, just keep going, keep working, keep kind of like control the controllables, kind of what I was talking about. Like, do the things that you know how to do and connect with people that can help you get there. And another person is, I had a consultant that came in very early on who has connected me with some of the best people in the space. And that happened from like the most organic connection. My sister was like, hey, I have a friend that knows someone in the beverage alcohol industry. And I was like, yeah, sure, Tenny, like whatever. Like, you don't even know what you're talking about. And she like connected me to this person. And then he ended up being like the absolute man. And then he ended up coming on kind of like my board and consulting for me and literally helped me and guided me through, distribution calls, hiring, landing points of distribution. And, without those two people, I don't know where Hive would be today. Yeah.
So did you guys raise money for this at all?
Yeah, I've done 2 raises.
Okay.
2 raises, and we have a runway of around probably 16 months. So I'll probably go back to the table and probably raise a VC PE round, most likely right at the end of the summer.
Yeah. So has this been mostly angels?
Angels, both have been angels. Yeah.
Cool. And for anybody listening, could you explain like angels versus like the VCPE?
Yeah. So 2 very big differences.
Very.
Angel, angels like friends and family rounds, like, going and pitching to, your parents and then your parents' friends, friends of friends, whatever, and just opening it up. And, that's a lot easier to pitch to because they want to see you succeed. They're more, betting on the jockey, not so much the horse. Then you need to kind of grow your sales, grow your points of distribution and kind of hit your sales numbers and keep the company growing. And then once you need to kind of raise VC and PE funding, like that's where you need all the training. And I haven't gotten into that training yet because that's a totally different thing. Like they will roast you. So that's what I'm trying to get ready for. And there's a couple of people that I'm talking to in the space, that really have either worked in private equity or are founders that have raised money. So that's kind of the next process. I'm going to probably start that in the next couple of months because that's like legit. And like there's a couple of PE firms that I want to reach out to and VC firms that have like really popped off like CPG brands. So I'm excited about that. But they also, take a big chunk of equity because they know what they can do. They can really turn it on and get you, co-packing fees down, distribution up, and really grow the company.
Yeah. So how do you balance that number of like how much do you give up, how much do you hold on to, knowing that for something like this, like you need a lot of capital, you need the money to continue to be able to grow. So how do you kind of navigate the cap table of just what you want to give up versus what you want to hold on to and thinking long term?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, I always want to be, the majority owner. That's like if I always just need to be at 51%. And, you can't be greedy because if you're greedy in this space being a founder, like you got to think about it. Like I would rather have like a big VC firm come in, want to take out, 20, 25%, but be able to open me up into X amount of, stores, accounts, meeting with big ambassadors, influencers, and then they probably have the relationships with the Gallows of the world, the Anheuser-Busch, the Brown-Forman, all of those. Whereas a smaller VC firm, they may want to take less, give you the same amount of money, but you don't get those contacts. Because that's where I'm at right now is like everyone on my cap table has just given money. They're not, they're not helping me in any way, like from contacts or anything like that, because they're not from the space. They're not from the CPG space.
It's just strictly capital.
Just strictly capital. And at that point in time, that's what I needed. So that was fine. And even back then, I don't even think if they could have helped me, I would have really known what to ask for. Because, like I was saying, like I didn't even know where to begin. I was like, I just need money to kind of figure out like what I'm doing, how to build this, and like what next step I need to go into. And then slowly, as I got and progressed down that road, then I was like, okay, now I need this. Who can I go to give me this or help me with this? Whereas 6 months before that, I didn't even know that I was going to get to that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I want to switch gears a little bit more towards now, like the health and wellness side of things, because I know that's such a big part of your life. And it's, if you look at Hive, like if you look at you guys on social media, if you see what you're doing from like a brand activation standpoint, the people that you're hanging out with, the influencers that you're partnering up with, a lot of them are my friends, and they're like some of the fittest guys that I know, the fittest people that I know. So was that kind of the goal from the start, was to like merge this as like a wellness brand almost? Like I don't know. It's just interesting because you don't see as many health and wellness creators obviously promoting alcoholic beverage companies.
Oh, totally. Yeah, and it takes a while for people to understand it 100% and why we're going that way. From the beginning, no. So I always wanted to be a better for you option, but that wasn't the main leading thing. The main leading thing at that point in time was the honey aspect. And the honey aspect is, I always look at it like the 3 pillars. One pillar is who's your hive, who's a community. The other aspect is, we're only sweetened with honey, and that's a different kind of promoting item. And then the third is the health and wellness side of it, being that better for you cocktail. That was kind of in the background. That like was always there, but it wasn't, what we were kind of going for. As the company started to grow And as the competition started to grow, I was like, I want to kind of audible and change this whole thing and, still, focus on, the honey aspect, saving the bees, and also the hive aspect of who's your hive. And what's cool is all of those three things kind of come together because the whole idea of like, who's your hive, who are the people that live to spend time with, and also the health and wellness side, those two things come together, because it's like, for me, doing type 2 fun is like the best type of fun. And what, at the end of the day, like after you do a kick-ass workout on like a Friday, there's nothing better than getting together with your friends and, cracking open a hive or a beer or whatever it is and enjoying that moment together. My whole thing is about owning the bonfire moments, not owning the party moments. And that's kind of a big differentiation in this category is you look at the marketing for all these other big King cocktail brands and it's party, 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 party. And that's not what I'm about specifically for myself. And also that's not what I see this brand as. For me, yes, I like to drink, but I have this whole idea of embracing balance in my everyday life and also everything in moderation, and that could be on the health and wellness side too. But for me, building this brand, which we've seen so much more success doing this, is because people can actually relate to that. Maybe not for the people that are completely sober in the health and wellness space, but the people that are in the health and wellness space that want to find something that's actually a better for you option rather than them having a White Claw or, the malt base or, a canned cocktail that's, all filled with, synthetic sugars and everything. Whereas Hive is, it is what it is. It's a honey sweetened drink that's only using natural ingredients, organic ingredients, and higher quality spirits. And that was like the whole transparency from the beginning. And I think we just kind of honed in on becoming that better for you brand and really making that kind of the forefront and kind of making it into the health and wellness space.
When was that shift?
Honestly, not that long ago. Like I said, we were always leading in the better for you category, but primarily just talking about the Hive. We kind of collided the Hive idea of community with health and wellness in the past like 6 months. So it's kind of been a big switch.
It's definitely a big switch.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think that came from some of the people that you started to connect with, like the Erics of the world?
Oh, totally. Eric has allowed us or allowed me to get introduced to, because he's introduced me to everyone. He introduced me to you. He's introduced me to literally everyone. He is the master connector. He connects everyone. And I think he almost kind of allowed me to like kind of enter into this space and see and kind of open my eyes to like, hey, there's a lot of people in this space that are kind of searching for an option like this. And it's kind of a white space because yes, there's the Michelob Ultras of the world that focus on like low calorie, but there's no brands out there that are really focused on being the better for you product, not so much from a caloric standpoint, but from an ingredient standpoint in the canned cocktail industry. And I was like, hey, look, being a niche product is going to win. If we're trying to, please the masses and have a tequila soda, we would be so screwed. We would not be here right now. That's for sure. Like I would be probably back in real estate if that was the case. So you have to be super niche, and that was my thing. I'm like, and that's kind of what works for me. It's like, I'm not really big into drinking. Like, yeah, I drink every once in a while, but and I think it just kind of all kind of came together. And Eric was the one that kind of hit it off for us and kind of sparked that whole kind of beginning of trying to get into the health and wellness space.
How have you been able to hit all of your health and wellness goals and pursuits while still enjoying a night out every now and again? Because I have struggled with that, and I mean, you and I have talked. Like, I'm doing a year sober right now, but it's not to say I'm not ever going to drink again.
Yeah,
it was just there's some unfortunate events in my life that occurred, and I was like, you know what, I haven't drank in a while, and I think I'm just gonna do a year sober.
Yeah,
but in college, it was very much like you go hard or you don't go at all. It's a very all or nothing approach that I myself struggled with. And I know a lot of people out there do also. It's like, well, if I want to be healthy, like I can't drink at all. Right. And obviously alcohol's not I wouldn't say it's like it's not a healthy thing for you, but it's not going to in moderation, like you've mentioned, is not going to completely hinder like your
Yeah.
it's not going to throw you completely off your path. So how have you been able to balance both?
Yeah, and like I was saying, like my idea for Hive Brands Incorporated, because at the end I'm gonna tell you something that we're doing, which I'm super excited about. But underneath Hive Brands Incorporated, it's empowering, or I guess embracing balance in your everyday life, and that's kind of where I kind of started after college. Let's just say that, because in college I was probably 25 pounds heavier than I am right now, not muscle, all fat.
I was going to say, you've been pretty good over
Yeah,
there,
just
bro.
trying to keep it up.
There you go.
It's power
Power
lift.
lift.
But yeah, I mean, totally. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I will not even lie. I'm just gonna say drinking is not good for you.
Mhm.
It's not. But the whole thing is like drinking's never gonna go away. And that's kind of where, for me, I know that I'm probably never going to be 100% sober, and nor would I want to be, just for me personally. Like, I love to, enjoy a drink every once in a while, like once a week, have a night with some friends, crack open a couple of hives or whatever, but everything in moderation.
Mhm.
And that's my thing, is like always preaching everything in moderation, because also, too, I work out for the most part every single day. So if I'm on Friday night and I have like 10 hives, I probably won't be waking up feeling too great and ready for a workout. But this idea of everything in moderation, if I have 2, 3 hives, I'll wake up. Yeah, I might be a little bit, not feeling 100%, but I can still get after a workout. And, I don't want to preach about hive being the perfect drink, but, drinking a hive versus the other products out there, you wake up feeling less hungover, just
Right.
because, it's as great as you can get and as like natural and organic as you can get for a canned cocktail. So you're not going to feel as shitty the next morning. But you're totally right. I mean, at the end of the day, to really hit all your fitness goals, you should be 100% sober, to really hit it and really get after it. But this whole idea for me is just embracing that balance in my everyday life. And I think only for me do I drink probably on Friday night, Saturday night. I don't drink at all Thursday, Sunday, anything like that. For me, those days are to kind of relax a little bit. The other days is for me to get after it in the gym, get after it in the office, own my day every single day and really get after it.
What are some of the ways that you own your day?
Well, since I've been here in Austin, it's been pretty much nonstop. Like today, I was at the On It gym with Bill Murphy, Sam, and Eric. And whenever I'm with Eric, for some reason, he always chooses to do a leg day. I don't know why. I think he just looks at me and is like, "We're gonna do leg day today."
He's like, look at those arms. He needs
Look at those.
he needs
you
some
need
legs.
bigger legs.
Yeah.
And he actually absolutely murdered me today. And then we did like a long bike ride. So like for me, I'm always about being outdoors, trying to get workouts in, but also balancing it with work. And that's the thing that's been really tough for me, is balancing my health and work, not drinking, but like work.
Yeah.
Because like the drinking thing, I've got that pretty nailed down. Like I know I'm very disciplined in when I know to have a drink and when to relax and when not to, and when to be focusing on fitness and work. The thing where it gets hard for me is when I need to unplug from work and be able to focus on myself. And that's like been getting harder and harder and harder, because work is just ramping up and ramping up and ramping up. Like it's not slowing down at all. So it's like finding that time just for me. And that's been a huge adjustment. And being okay with that, because in this world of being a founder, it's always like you always need to be on like all the time, So it's been hard to kind of balance that.
Yeah. I've noticed that too, especially like when you're on the road, because it is like you can also justify it in your own head of like, oh, well, this is doing something for business. Like I'm hanging out with a guy who I do business with.
Yeah.
And it's just like anything, like too much of anything becomes a bad thing, you know, and I made a post about this. I did a podcast about this somewhat recently where fitness can just be like a procrastination tool also.
Yeah.
So just like anything else can be, just like scrolling TikTok, just like going on Instagram, watching YouTube. Like if you're just, because I used to do that too. Anytime I had to face anything that I didn't want to do, I was just like, oh, I'm going to go to the gym or I'm going to go for a run. And I would justify that. And then you get back, it's like the work still needs to be done, And sometimes that's exactly what you need. But other times you need to just actually sit down and do the work.
Yeah. And I think for me, because there's a lot of stuff that's going to change for me in the future, because I'm thinking about moving out of New York City like full time, and I want to move somewhere kind of like in Austin. I mean, I'm in Nashville all the time because my company's based in Nashville, so I'm in Nashville around like 1 to 2 weeks a month. But I need to find somewhere that I can kind of be comfortable in my kind of everyday routine. And I haven't had a routine, I kid you not, since college, because I have been on the go nonstop, from, opening up new states to meeting with my co-packer, meeting with my formulator, meeting with distributors. It's been nonstop. And now like I'm getting to the point where, the team's big enough that they can kind of handle all those meetings. So now it's like, hey, this is time for you to focus on building the brand kind of in one place, and owning a market that you're going to be in. Honestly, that would make sense for Nashville. Nashville's kind of already built up for the most part with Spirited Hive. So now I'm kind of thinking of someone else. And after this time here, I'm kind of like, everyone is obsessed with health and fitness. There's definitely a good drinking community here. The weather's great, everything's just kind of ticking the boxes. And I'm kind of like, I could kind of see this place being the place for me, and could live that. I kind of live that life of, balancing work, health and fitness, and, living a balanced life with drinking as well.
Yeah, Austin is hard to beat, man. It was one of the reasons why I came down here, was after visiting like 3 times, it just like you said, it just checks all the boxes in so many different ways. And people also, like, yes, they're obsessed with health and fitness. They're also, they love getting together. They love celebrations. Like, most people will have a drink every now and again too. But it's also like people are just in pursuit of, like, they're in pursuit of something, whether it's just like a higher version of themselves. They're in pursuit of just surrounding themselves with better people. They're building a company. They're starting a podcast. They have a YouTube channel. Like, everybody here has something which you don't necessarily see in a lot of other places.
Totally. I find that like that event, everyone's so driven, and also everyone's so open to meeting new people, because most people aren't from here. So they know what it's like to be here and be like a new person. It's like
everybody's an implant.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and that's perfect. And I mean, probably Austin locals probably don't like it, but I mean, for the most part, it's also a beautiful thing, because it's like so many people. It's like a melting pot. People coming in from all over the world, all over the U.S., and getting to meet new people is so awesome. And like living in New York, I'm not saying that New York's not a melting pot, because it's probably the biggest in the U.S., but there's this different, I mean, the founder kind of mentality here, it's just so prevalent. Like, there's a lot of founders, and you can kind of tell, and you kind of get that energy of like, yeah, let's go like do cool shit and like build cool shit. Whereas in New York, it's like everyone kind of thinks, they're farther along than everyone else, and there's not like that camaraderie of like kind of like, they feel like they're kind of better almost.
It's a lot more competition versus Austin's a lot more collaboration.
100%.
You even saw it at your event. You weren't the only brand that was there.
Yeah.
There were founders there from other brands.
Yeah.
And it was all love. Everybody's connecting, creating content around it, like just coming together around just health, happiness, love, like, all these things. And I think that is where Austin separates itself, is it's more collaboration over competition.
Totally. And I think that's what means so much to me too, is like kind of going back to like those 2 brand pillars of like friends, family, and then health and fitness. And like, that's kind of like where I see here kind of aligns so much with me, is like even just that example. Like, I went in there knowing you, a couple of other people, and that was it. And I left with like 10 new friends that were just so open, like, hey, let's go do this, let's go do that. And they were other founders too. And like Bill, the founder of Willpower, he's like a direct competitor
Yeah.
of mine. And we were lifting this morning, hanging out, and neither of us give a shit that we're competitors. At the end of the day, like being in competition with each other is only going to help us grow together. And I think that's the mentality that a lot of founders have wrong. It's like, yeah, you may be competitors, but you can also work together to kind of build each other up, and it's always great to have a competitor, because it kind of holds your feet to the fire and gets you fucking going as well.
So you mentioned you haven't had a routine since like college, right? So what does a day-to-day look like for you?
Oh, it depends. It's crazy. It's literally crazy. Like, if I'm in New York and I'm sitting at my desk, I'll have meetings. And this is what I'm trying to get away from is like, I have meetings literally when I wake up. I usually wake up at 6, watch the news, go to the gym, and then I'll sit at my desk at like 8:30 and have meetings until probably 6. And then I'll have an hour kind of for lunch to like go through emails, and then I'll have the end of the day to go through emails. But I feel like I'm always playing catch up. And I'm getting to the point now where, I'm building the brand and I have enough people on that I'll be in a meeting and I'm like, I don't need to be in this meeting. I'm like, why am I in this meeting? And then, so I'm kind of like starting to build that out, and I'm trying to figure out like manage my time better, because at the end of the day, that's like bottlenecking everything. If I'm on every call and if like they're rescheduling because I can't be on a call when I don't really even need to be on that call. So like I'm kind of getting better at that. But if I'm traveling, like this month alone, I've been in, oh my God, where have I been? I've been to Florida, Texas, Tennessee, New York, Michigan, Florida again, Tennessee again. I have been like nonstop, and it's only the 18th, which is nuts. It's just been, and I thought I was gonna have a chill December, but like the idea of having I'm like, oh yeah, maybe I could have a girlfriend right now. No fucking way, I could have a girlfriend right now. She'd break up with me in like 2 weeks. Haven't seen you in a month. Where you been? I've been on the road.
What are some things in your health or in your day-to-day life that are non-negotiables for you? Despite if you're on the road, if you're in New York, if you're in Tennessee, if you're traveling, is there anything, couple of things that you have to do each day?
Yeah, workout 100%. I need to get in the gym or just exercise in general. Like even if I don't have a gym, I'll go for a run. I'll do like, an EMOM of like body weight, just to kind of, because that clears my head too. At the end of the day, like, yes, I want to stay in shape, but for me, working out and fitness is it's almost like a psychiatrist. It's just like it helps you like think through things. It'll help you clear your head. So that's a non-negotiable. Trying to eat healthy is always a non-negotiable for me. And I give myself a little bit of leeway room with that, because when you're traveling, it's so much harder.
Yeah.
Especially like tracking things on like Macro Factor. If MyFitnessPal is like so hard when like you're getting food at, the airport or whatever. Those two are big things. And then if there's sauna cold plunge, I will try to get that in. I've been getting a lot of that in here 100%, because it's practically everywhere you look, there's a sauna and a cold plunge, which is amazing. Those three are probably my biggest non-negotiables. Yeah. And then also probably too, like I try to talk to my parents like every other day for the most part. Just to check in with them, check in with friends, make sure, everyone's okay, because you never know how long you have those phone calls for. So probably those 4 things.
If all of this was to go away tomorrow, this might be a weird question, but
Let's hear it.
I'm curious, just because you have a similar story to me, whereas you didn't really go out into the corporate world. You didn't have that 9 to 5 that you hated and felt unfulfilled in. Like, neither did I. I just kind of, you talk about being naive. Like, I was very naive. I was just like, I'm going to graduate and I'm going to start my own business and I'm going to live in my mom's house and, have support until I figure it out, which is so blessed for. But I'm curious, like, if all of this was to go away, what would you do next? Because I think about that a lot too. And it's like these identities that we attach ourselves to. Like after I had the cardiac arrest, it was like, okay, well, I'm not the running creator that I was. Like, I'm not going to be able to do that. I had to shed myself from that identity when I was playing football in college. That's the kind of content I created. And so when I stepped out of that, it was like, who am I now? What do I do now? This has been such a big part of your life for the past couple of years. So theoretically, and I don't see this going anywhere. I see it doing nothing but like going to the stars. I think you're onto something extremely special. But theoretically, if it all went away, like what would you do?
Damn, that's a great question. I've always been like very entrepreneurial ever since I was a kid. Like I started my own clothing company when I was like 12, 13, and I was always driven. Not I don't even think I knew what I was driven for. I just loved creating and, developing things and building things. And I think if this all went down, down the fucking drain tomorrow, I would probably build something new. And I just have a very much like go out there and get it mentality, and finding the people that can help you along the way to help build whatever you're trying to build. Because that's the thing, it's like it's not, and this sounds so cliche, but it's like it's not what you know, it's who you know. And that's a big part of where I am today. It's not the brand is it's not what I knew, it's who I knew to kind of help me get there. And I think if Hive were to crumble tomorrow, I would probably just kind of be like, okay, what's the next thing that I can build? Because I have so many other ideas that I want to kind of go after. A lot of it has to do with honey, and building like other honey brands and everything like that. So maybe I'll do that, but I know that I'd probably build something new. There's no way I would ever go back, or not go back because I was never there, but I would never go the corporate route. Because a while ago, about a year ago, I kind of ran into not rocky times with Hive, but a lot of like, what am I doing? Kind of like not confident behind it. Like, what is this? Like, I don't even know what the hell I'm doing, kind of thing. And I was like, well, maybe like, if it doesn't go well, go back into real estate. And, I still have time to, be an analyst and start from the first tier and kind of work my way up the ladder and all that. And that came from being scared, and it's a scary thing to be a founder, especially taking people's money and investor and building something with other people's money. Like that's a lot of pressure. And I think it was just all this pressure. And I was like, dude, no, like you're not meant for that life. So, I know that, hopefully I sell Hive for, a couple 100 million, you never know.
Some light.
Some light. And then I would build something else 100%. Yeah.
As we're starting to wrap up here, I do want to touch on the honey point because honey, I mean, my business partner, Sean, is obsessed. He's obsessed. Like, dude, literally came to town and bought like, no joke, have so much honey at my house. Like I don't even know what to do with it. It's bizarre. But honey it's very special, and there's a difference between like local honey and Manuka honey and raw honey versus just like, the plastic bear like you get Walmart brand.
You got to stay away from those, by the way, because that's not even real honey. They call it
sugar and water.
They call it dark market honey. Yeah,
it's insane.
Like synthetic, fake honey.
Yeah. So why like, raw organic honey? What are the benefits of it, and why are you so intrigued by it?
Yeah, I think for me with Hive, especially, like little did I was putting honey on everything, and I still put honey on everything because it's like, to me, not only is it the world's first natural sweetener, but to me it's the best sweetener. I love the flavor of it, and I love the benefits that it can give you. And I think something that I really loved around building this brand was having that the component across all, like it's not an alcohol brand. It's almost more like less like a honey brand, like the main component across all of our SKUs is that it's sweetened with organic honey. And to the point of why organic honey is like, I wanted to make Hive the best it could be for what ingredients we're using.
Sure.
And I remember we ran into an issue about a year ago where honey prices went through the roof, like literally went up like 40-50%.
Why was that?
I can't remember exactly what it was. I remember my ops guy was like, we're fucked. And I was like, no, we'll figure it out. But I remember we were about to go towards using a synthetic honey.
No.
And I was looking at the cost of goods and I was like, wow, that looks nice. Like that literally, like,
Yes.
wow. Like we could have priced it on the shelf so much lower and probably could have, sold probably tons of more cases. But I was like, that's not the brand, like I don't want to be shady with my consumers. I want this to be known as a brand that is a better for you brand, that is only using organic wildflower honey. And I stuck to that. I remember seeing those numbers and I was like, this looks great, but we're not doing it. So we never did it. We kept on. We took a big hit on our margins for a while because of that. But we stayed true to the brand, and we would have lost, consumer integrity around like, oh, well, Hives, says they're doing this, but they're not actually doing that. So that was something that, was really interesting. But for me, I just love honey so much, and I'm glad Sean does too. I mean, when we're on our calls and Sean, like I start talking about honey, he just loses it. He's like,
Or he takes a spoon and he starts eating it.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I mean, I'm so excited to kind of develop, more into the health and wellness space because so what we're doing with Hive Brands, kind of what I was alluding to.
Yeah, I was waiting for it. I'm on the edge of my seat over here.
Yeah. Well, you look pretty comfortable over there.
I am pretty comfortable. These are nice chairs.
These are nice chairs. You got a great setup in here, by the way.
Yeah.
A little fireplace.
It's not mine for anybody listening.
Yeah. He rents it. I might have to rent this too if I end up moving here.
Hey, man.
But so kind of what I was alluding to earlier is like to kind of round out this whole idea of what Hive Brands is and what empowering balance in your everyday life. What I'm super excited about is right now I'm developing a company called Strive, which is the sister brand to Spirited Hive. It's going to be sweetened with honey, non-alcoholic. We're going to have a hydration, a recovery, a buzz version. And it's all going to be around taking, like, let's say we were drinking a Hive together, after your year of sober, if you go back to drinking, we're drinking a Hive together. The whole idea of Strive is I want to make the drinking experience as better for you as possible. Because like I was saying earlier, drinking's never going to go away. So how can we approach it in a way that allows you to have not only a better for you product, but allows you to hydrate and recover through the process of drinking too. So the whole idea is like, if we're out drinking, I'd bring a case of Spirited Hive and Strive. We'd be having, 1 or 2 Spirited Hives. Then we would kind of key in the Strive version, which is filled with supplements, amino acids, electrolytes to kind of rehydrate you from being dehydrated from drinking. Then later on that day or later on that night, you crack open the recovery version, which has L-theanine, magnesium to help, rehydrate your muscles. Also, which is great for benefiting sleep, active recovery. So the next morning when you wake up, you're more likely to feel better and being able to own your day. And we're still trying to figure out if we're going to be doing a caffeine version, but the idea is to crack open, the buzz version in the morning to get around 50 to 75 milligrams of caffeine in your system to kind of jumpstart your morning on a healthy start. So that could also be used, these 3 kind of, morning, noon, and night, I guess, can be kind of used in any kind of given situation. But to be able to have, a drink that kind of owns all parts of your day. When you want to drink, you got Spirited Hive. When you don't want to drink and you want to have a functional beverage that has supplements, you can have a Strive. So that's kind of what we're developing. And then also for you, since you're not drinking right now, you could have that in your hand and not only getting good supplements into your body, but being hydrated. And it looks like you may be drinking, an alcoholic beverage at the same time.
Dude, I love it.
Yeah.
So when is that anticipated to launch?
Yeah, I actually just got off the phone with my formulator a couple of minutes, like literally an hour ago. So that was round 3 of formulation. So we're building the brand right now in the background of formulation. So it's almost kind of like starting at square one again with a whole new brand. But we're hoping to launch it May 1st.
Dude, I love it.
Yeah.
I got to ask, is there plans to start your own beehive at some point?
I have been asked that a good amount.
How sick would that be?
That would be fucking cool.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I want to do around activations and like having a beehive there and like having it be like a plexiglass beehive so people get to see like, the honeycombs inside the bees kind of going around. Maybe you see the queen bee in there, you never know. But yeah, I mean, I definitely have been talking about it. I don't have too much space in my New York apartment right now for a beehive.
Hey, you're moving to Austin. It's okay.
So maybe in the backyard of the Austin house could work.
Hey, maybe we team up. We start we start one.
We would have to get Sean involved, though.
I mean, dude, he's been talking about starting his own hive for months now.
Well, now he's got someone
exactly.
we can both help him out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Dude, this was so much fun. So glad that we finally got to connect and do this, man, and meet in person. And I really admire everything that you're doing and just creating something that supports a healthy lifestyle. You don't see these other canned cocktail companies saying, obviously they want you to drink more of it, whereas it's almost, you're just like, nah, like if you want to, like sick, if you want to go for it, like we're going to be that option for you, but we're not like telling you to go out and drink, which I really respect and appreciate. But I do have to ask before I let you go, question that I ask all my guests is, this is the Pure Ambition podcast. So when you hear those words, pure ambition, what do they mean to you and how does it apply to your daily life?
Yeah, I think my daily life, pure ambition is honestly from like a hive kind of point of view for me, that ambition of just seeing that end goal, of like, yeah, there's that mountain up there. And whatever that is that day or that month or that year, I mean, right now, that goal that I'm looking for is getting Strive to launch in May. There may be a ton of speed bumps along the road, but just having that ambition to actually get to that mountain is kind of, that's what I think about.
Amazing, brother. I'm excited to do this again soon.
Yeah, dude.
When you're back here in Austin, hopefully.
Hopefully soon.
But, dude, wishing you nothing but the best. I love everything that you're doing. Glad we got to spend some time together. And I appreciate you just dropping all the wisdom today.
Dude, I appreciate it. Thank you again for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much for tuning into today's episode. I wanted to give you all a heads up too that I launched a free community on the Upspace app where you can join, ask me questions, connect with like-minded individuals, follow my 4-week running and strength training program that has some dedicated mobility sessions in there as well, so that we can all optimize our health and fitness together. So if you're interested, head over to the App Store, download the Upspace app, and join the Pure Ambition community today. Love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.